Here we go.
My goal is not just to get you fired up and pumped up and motivated. My goal is to give you something that you can take and practice and learn so you can use it in the dealership to get to the next level in sales. Yesterday everyone in here said that they wanted to get to the next level. Everybody wants to get to the next level. Most people aren't willing to do the things that it takes to get to the next level. You see, successful people do the things that unsuccessful people don't want to do, period. So it's going to take some work. So I want you guys to roll up your sleeves, and we're going to do some practice today. And for the rest of the workshop, we're going to be talking about the process. The process, and it's going to be all about closing deals. Now, we said yesterday that the basics never change, right? We said that it's a thought process that goes through a customer's mind. Here's where they come into the dealership. Here's when they leave. First, the customer has to like who? Okay, and after they like, they start to what? And after they listen, they believe. And after they believe, they buy. Now, we talked about the first impression, the greeting, building rapport, investigating, the presentation, demonstration. We also talked about walking the customer through service and showing them our evidence manual, which is a collection of proof of everything that we've been telling them so far is true. Is that right? Well, that's the backbone of our process. That's the basics. Now, since so many things around the basics have changed, since so many things in our industry has changed, we have to have a process to bring us back to those basics. Because it's not enough just to have a great first impression. It's not enough just to build rapport and have a warm and friendly greeting and investigate. We have to have a process that's in place, that's tried, and that's proven, that gets results in the dealership. Not what sounds good in a classroom, not what's presented to you well and sold to you, but something that actually works to produce a result. You see, because everything that we talk about today is going to be about results. It's going to be about selling a car. It's going to be about holding gross. It's going to be about getting your customer at ease and making your customer comfortable so we can bring them through a process to make it easy for the customer. So everything that we talk about is to sell a what? It's to sell a car. It's about results. So let's take a look at the process. First, we have the meet and greet. Is that right? That's step one. Step two is qualify and build rapport. Step three is touch base with the sales desk. Step four is vehicle selection. Step five is the product presentation using feature, advantage, and benefits. And after the presentation, we're going to take them on a demonstration. Is that right? And after the demonstration, we're going to walk them through service, which is step 7. That's pretty much what happens in the dealership from the time the customer comes in until we get them to the point where we're going to work the deal, where we're going to write the deal up. Now, if we do a really good job with the meet and greet, we qualify and we build rapport, and we listen to the customer, by the time we get to the sales desk with our information on the customer statement, is it safe to say that the customer should like who they're dealing with at this point? Yes, sir. Okay, so that's the pre-presentation steps, the warm-up, getting them to settle down a bit. But not only is the customer warmed up, but we have all the right information because we had a customer statement. Remember yesterday we talked about funding. We talked about the collecting the steps up front, so we have all the information. We have all the ingredients to make it a deal. Is that right? Yes, sir. So these first 3 steps, that's already done. Now the customer is going to start to what? Listen. Yesterday we said after we touch base with the desk, we're going to help the customer do 2 things. Number one, we said we're going to help them get their credit reestablished. Is that right? Yeah. And the other one was help them increase their credit score. Now, once we verify the information on the application, we simply sit down with the customer and say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we have a few lenders that are willing to work with you. Now, these lenders that we'll be dealing with are pretty flexible. But there are a few things that they're really strict on. They're really strict on how much money they're going to let us borrow, which is a good thing because they're only going to let us borrow a certain percentage of book value, and you don't want to borrow more than what the vehicle's worth anyway. Now, the other thing that they're looking at is the payments. We want to try to keep your payment down as low as we can. Now, we know that today the average payment is between $399 and $499. Now, if you and I get out here on the lot and we look at some of these SUVs, trucks, more expensive vehicles, we know those payments are going to be a lot what? Now, were you guys looking for something, you know, like enough room in it, good on gas, enough room for you and your family, or were you looking for something more like a SUV truck? What did we just ask the customer?
I can try something higher.
We're just setting up their expectation, right? Or something higher, something more expensive. But did I ask them where they wanted their payment to be?
No.
Did I say your payment's going to be? No, but we did state some facts, is that right? We stated the fact that the average payment's between $399 and $499. It may even be a little bit more than that this year, I don't know, but the last stat that I saw, it was like $468 was the average payment. That was a little bit ago. So we're just giving them a range. We're just setting them up a little bit. We don't want to scare them. We don't want to close them. We want to set up expectation. Remember, they haven't test driven yet. We didn't sell a car yet. All we've sold so far is ourselves, and we sold the credit. And if we don't sell a car, what do we got? Nothing. So it's not time to close a deal. So once we set up those expectations, remember, right after step 3, once we set up those expectations, and the only reason we set them up is because they're what? They're listening. But now that we set them up, we can select what? We can do the vehicle selection. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, based on all the information that you guys have given us, and everything that we do have here, and what the lender will allow us to do, we'll find some vehicles out there that will work perfect for you. And if there's one out there that works really well, we'll go ahead and show you that one first while we search our inventory. Now that's a big difference from looking at a customer and saying, well, your credit's bad and this is what you qualify for. Yes or no? That's a lot better than saying that. Now, once we go to select the vehicle, should we pull the vehicle up and open all the doors and do a good job on a feature advantage benefit presentation? Or should we just like, grab the keys and say, here you go. Throw it to the customer and say, all right, have fun. I don't want you to have any pressure or anything. Take your time. Y'all keep it under, 100 miles per hour. We'll see you when you get back. Which one should we do? Ride with, do a good feature advantage benefit presentation, assume that they want to drive, or just throw them the keys? Some of you laugh, but you know what happens in some dealerships? You know what happens? Here, why don't you take it for a spin? I trust you. I got your license. Go ahead. Take your time. Okay, so we do a good job on a feature advantage benefit presentation. Is that right? After the presentation, we assume that they want to what? We assume that they want to drive. Once we do the demonstration, we come back inside. What's after the demonstration? The service walk. At this point, they're starting to what? They're starting to believe. You see how the process goes with the basics? Now, what if, well, depending on the dealership, what I suggest is that the salesperson drives first. What we do is in our process, it's a 6-point walk around, feature advantage benefit. You start at the driver's side, and you end up on the other side of the vehicle, and then you have the customer have a seat in the passenger side, and the salesperson gets in the driver's side and shows them some of the features, advantage, and benefits on the dash. And right when they go from the feature, advantage, and benefits on the dash, we just simply say buckle up and take it from park to drive. Because remember, the only difference in a presentation and demonstration is P and D. Presentation, demonstration, park to drive. They all go together. So if the salesperson takes it from park to drive, remember the objections that are going to come up? I don't have time to drive it, or I already what? Already drove it. That gives us a chance to say, well, no problem, I don't have a whole lot of time myself. As a matter of fact, I have some appointments coming in. Did you want to take the long route or the short route? And as soon as the customer says the short route, just say buckle up and take it, park to drive, and you drive off. Now, when you drive off as a salesperson, you're going to switch drivers. When you pull off the lot or near the end of the lot, you can switch drivers. And you walk around the vehicle, and then they can drive the vehicle on the test drive route and then come back into the dealership. Now, for you guys, since all of you are from different dealerships, you do whichever one signs your paycheck says do. Does that make sense? Because some people like the customer to drive the vehicle off the lot. It's my personal opinion. I like the salesperson. So, does that answer your question? Now, after that, go ahead. See?
Ask you something. You said when you're presenting the car and you pull the car first in the lot, you said open all the doors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But a guy I know said like it's best to keep all doors closed and everything so that they can look at the exterior first. Which one does not?
Yeah, that's great if they want to look at the exterior first, but make sure when you're doing your presentation, you open every door, the trunk, and the hood. Open up everything and show them and demonstrate the vehicle.
Okay,
If you want to pull it up and let them see it before you open it, great.
yeah, but it's sometimes a bit difficult because if you close all the doors, because you're walking with your customer to the car, and then it's like you seem like a freak, like trying to open all the doors and then open the trunk.
Well, actually, what you want to do is just unfold it. When you do your walk around, your 6-point walk around, and we're going to get more in depth in that in a little bit on how to do it. But when you do your walk around, what you want to do is you start with the driver door, and then you pop the hood, and you walk around the front with the hood open, and then you get to the passenger door, and you open up the passenger door, and then you show them in the trunk as well. When you go to the trunk, you open the trunk. And then you have all the doors open. And then as you're going back around, because you're going to get into the driver's side, that's when you can close everything. And then you can show the customer some of the features inside the vehicle, and that's when you have them sitting comfortably in the passenger seat. Does that make sense? And we'll get more into that a little bit, because it is important that they see the vehicle with all the doors closed and all that good stuff too. Some dealerships don't like to pull the vehicle up front. Some like to walk the customer out to the vehicle out on the lot. You know, it really just depends on how your manager wants it at your store. Now, after we do the feature advantage benefit presentation, did I answer your question? I hope I did. After we do the feature advantage benefit presentation, we take them on a demonstration. After the demonstration, we walk them through where? Service. Okay, now, most of us in the car business were taught to sell ourselves, the product, and the dealership. Now we're getting ready to sell the dealership and the relationship after the sale. Is that right? The dealership. What's one thing that we added to it that we sold in this process that most dealerships miss? We sold ourselves. There it is. And there's product, and there's the dealership. There's one more. What is it? We sold them on how to get reestablished. Is that right? Remember, we're going to help you and right, and then we verified information on the bureau, right? Okay, now we sold ourselves, the product, the dealership, and we sold them how to get reestablished. Is that right? Yeah. Now, what if we don't sell them on how to get reestablished and we just sell ourselves, the product, and the dealership, and they love it, and then they get on a certain vehicle and the payment's too high and they say, well, you got a card, I want to think about it, and not right now, we're going to go somewhere else, let me get your card, or we're going to go home, or I got an appointment to go to, and they try to get out of there, and they do get out of there, and then they go to another dealership, and they go through the same thing. The other dealership, are they going to get them approved for a better rate than you can if the credit's the same? No, because we all use the same what? The same lenders, is that right? But when they get to the next dealership, what's going to happen after they test drive the vehicle and they show them payments and everything? It's probably going to be the same payment or even more. Is that right? But at this point, they've already been through the whole deal because you educated them, right? You sold yourself, you sold the product, and you sold the dealership. You educated them. And now they know what payments are. You already got the shock out of the way. Now we turned a buyer into a what? Shopper, because we didn't sell the program on how to get reestablished and what average payments are. And we're going to get a little bit more into this in a minute, but it's so important. But once we sell those 4 things, we have the right to close. But if it's not sold, we could be on the wrong car. And then if the bank doesn't approve the deal, is it a deal? Yep. Unless they have cash. Remember a Chinese payment plan, one lump sum? Unless they have cash, is it a deal? No. If the customer loves the car and the bank says no, is it a deal? No. No. If the salesperson loves the customer and the customer loves the salesperson and the customer and the customer doesn't like the car, but the bank says yes, but they don't like it, is it a deal? Sometimes. But if they just don't want it and they want to leave without it, they don't want it, is it a deal?
No.
No. So it's got to be the right car for the right customer and the right what? Bank. Or it's not a deal, period. They can love it all. You could sell that car. You could be the best salesperson in the world. You could be Joe Girard. Y'all know who Joe Girard is? He's in the Guinness Book of World Records for car sales. You could be Joe Girard. But if they don't understand that program and how to get reestablished, you can forget it. Hang it up because it's not a deal. Now, if the bank will buy the deal, the customer loves the car, and they're sold on the car, and the bank says you're approved, and you're working the deal with your manager, and your manager says, well, we're losing money, of course. I bet they do want it. We're losing $3,000. Is it a deal?
No.
At a $3,000 loss? Of course not. So it's got to be the right car that's profitable for the dealership. Does that make sense? All right, I want you guys to write this down. Number one, just write these three things down. Number one, it's a question. Is it moral? Write that question down. Number one, is it moral? Question mark. Is it moral? That's the first question. Here's the second one. Is it good for the customer? Is it good for the customer? Number three, is it good for the dealership? We are representing the dealership. Right, guys? Is it good for the dealership? All right, so we're going to get a little bit more in depth in each of these steps.